Hey, welcome back to another episode of Live Rich Cheaply. Anyways, today we're going to go over the Titan Fitness. This is their adjustable bench. It's not the single post model. It's got the little U shape in the front here, which some people say causes problems. We'll take a look and see if we can take care of that. But this model is $50 cheaper than the other one, and $50 is a share of AMD, or it was up until recently. So anyways, that's the way I like to think of things. So let's crack this open. All right, here goes our box. Looks like the easiest thing to do is cut all these straps and then flip it over. Cut outwards and away from our throws. Here comes the big reveal. Our seat pad, adjustable parts. This is probably for the seat part here. Got a manual. There's a box of hardware. Probably the prop that goes on the back piece, the backrest. Here's the cushion for the backrest. And people complain a lot about Titan Fitness, saying that the packages come all torn up. This box is double wall thickness, and everything in here seems to be all right so far. I guess we keep digging. Here's our little rails for adjusting the backrest. Just a lot of pieces in here. So, got our foot, a U-shaped foot. There's the end caps for that foot, looks like. We have to do some modifications to a few things regarding some of the complaints in the reviews. There's a leg roller. Another frame piece. There's a lot to this, guys. This is not a joke of a bench. Now, this is going to be different than, like, I looked at a lot of different benches, and one of the ones I looked at was from Dick's Sporting Goods, and I forget the two brands, but Ethos is their beefier brand of bench, and it's pretty good. I mean, it looks pretty stout, and it's reasonably priced, but it has no decline function. You've got this one, it's called the Fitness Gear Utility Weight Bench. You got the Fitness Gear Pro Utility Weight Bench. The problem I had is this one looked pretty flimsy to me, but it's real cheap. This one's reasonably priced, but I didn't like the adjustment mechanism. When you see the adjustment mechanism on this Titan Fitness model, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, when they say some assembly retired, they mean all assembly. The quality of everything seems to be good to me. It seems to be utilitarian. I mean, this is all stuff that's going to get banged up over time anyways. I mean, the welds look fine. They look strong enough. I mean, there's a few nicks in the paint and stuff, but, you know, who cares? Well, we got everything laid out. Let's open up our box of hardware here. Tell you what's in here is a big ass bag of bolts. I'm going to lay this out so I can spread the bolts out. Just going to separate all the bolts by size. Figure out how many of these we got. Hopefully we have everything. We may have to run down to the hardware store. We'll see. These things. You always need these things when you're working on one of these. Alright, I wanted to show you all the pieces laid out. Here's all the pieces. Here's the two cushions, a few pieces against the wall, leg rollers. And then here's the hardware. I laid out all the hardware. I'm going to count it and make sure that I have everything of every size I need. So if I have to run down to the hardware store, I can do it just once. Okay guys, this is how you do a real quick hardware inventory. They give you all the bolts here. And for example, here's M10 by 20. Well, you can see that that's your shortest length bolts, which are going to be over here. And it says we should have 5. That makes sense. Then we go M10 by 25. That's a little bit longer. Should have 2. There they are. M8, so it's narrow diameter, by 40. We should have 2. So we only have 2 narrow bolts, and they're right there. And you go on down the list just like that. Nuts, washers, everything. So I have exactly the required amount of everything it's asking for. So I've heard some people have to go down and get a bolt or something, but even if you're missing the bolt, you got the size right here, you can go down to the hardware store, pick it up. All right, I went and got some tools. For these larger bolts here, these are metric. I don't have sockets large enough, at least not handy. But 3/4 seems to fit really well. It might be closer to 19 or 20 millimeter, but. And then 13 millimeter for these smaller nuts here. 10 millimeter bolts fit well with 17 millimeter. So I've laid these out, and then it looks like 14 millimeter for here. And I have 2 of each size for the most part, because sometimes you have to back the nut. You have to tighten the bolt and the nut at the same time. All right, and then I'm going to use this drill for assembly with this adapter, 3/8 drive adapter. And the reason I'm using this instead of an impact, the impact, you can't really control the torque. It's good for removing things or putting things together where torque isn't too critical, but I like this because I can, first of all, lower the speed so I don't burn up the nylon lock part of the nut here. If you go too fast, you'll kind of just heat that up and ruin its gripping ability. And then the other thing is, so I can put on low, that's one. And number 2 is I have a clutch here. So that's barely tightening, and I can adjust how much torque. And then I can check it by hand. So once I do the first bolt, and I like where it is, I can set my clutch to match that and then do the rest of the assembly without having to go back. Step 1 is to put this thing on the bottom. It looks like they did already. It's not very tight. All right. It's tighter. Step 2 is to put our wheels in this guy right here. And our wheels are calling for M8 by 40s. We have 2 of those. Looks like these are them. Nothing else will fit. Let's just get our we've only got 4 washers, so 1 will go on either side. And here's our nuts. So there's our hardware, bolt through washer. I'm gonna have the nuts facing the inside. I just like the way that looks better. Like that, this. And we don't want to go too tight, otherwise you'll pinch this yoke down on the wheel itself and it won't spin. And I've gone too far already. So we'll back it off a little bit. Okay. So you can just kind of tighten it up until it rubs and then back it off until it spins. Do our other side here. Now we're on step 3. We need the main frame, which is here. We'll bolt this to the main frame. So we've got to clear some stuff out of the way. And what size does it call for? Number 8. The second longest, M12. These are going to be these here. So you're going to take 2 of those. Need corresponding nuts. So it looks like assembly is going to include washers all the way around. So 2 for each bolt. And we'll try our drill out. Start out at the lowest torque here. It's too low. We'll go to 6. It's too low. Go to 10. Too low. Seems to like 19. Let's try it out by hand. Feels pretty good. All right, so we'll use 19 for the rest of the assembly here. All right, so now we're saying bolts number 7. That's the shortest of the M12s. We're gonna make a modification here if it works out. One of the things people don't like about this particular bench is normally your foot goes on like that, right? And you sit here and your feet, when you go to do a lot of maneuvers, these things end up in the way of your feet, right? So what one review said to do, and this makes sense, is we'll just go around this way. Bolt it like that. That way once the seat's here, your feet can be over there. You've still got your stability. I don't see how that's going to be a problem at all, because they do make the single post version for 50 bucks more. The other way you could do that is before this bend starts, cut them here, cut here. This is what I was thinking of. And then just put your feet right there, right there. There's your single post version for 50 bucks less. But I'm going to do it like this, see how it works out. I like to start most bolts by hand. Make sure that you're not cross-threaded. Let's put our feet on real quick so that our legs stay level. Otherwise it could get tightened in here crooked. Yeah, the drill's not working out because 19's not tight enough and 20's almost feels like a full lockout. So I use that method all the time for stuff, but not with connections quite this big, so, or with hardware quite this big. So let's, I'm gonna back this off, make sure that we haven't overdone it. When you're tightening things, you just tighten them until they crack and then back off a little bit. Then you'll get the right torque. It says to put Q right here. It's a bumper. Step 3 is done. Let's go to step 4. Oh my lord, step 4 is a lot of steps. Number 9 for bolts. So number 9, we should have 3 pieces. Third longest bolt. Right here. So you put one of these guys, you put the bolt washer, one of those through the frame, the other one, another washer, and a nut. There it goes. Don't tighten up any bolts on any one assembly until you've got them all. So this one we need to get all 3 bolts in there first before we tighten anything. So we've got wiggle room to line up all the holes. There we go. And we'll just snug them up and then we'll tighten them by hand. All right, now we need the seat support assembly, which they're calling E. Right here. Got to get rid of this zip tie. Bolt 11. We should have 2 of those. That should be our longest bolts. All right. So, looks like these dudes here. See if there's any, which way these go. Looks like they've got symmetry. So these are in the mix here. We're having moving parts here. I kind of want to put some grease in here, or at least some oil. All right, I got just a little bit of generic automotive grease here. We're just going to slap a little bit in these bushing holes. And on the face here, bushing. You don't have to go nuts here, guys. don't want getting grease all over yourself later. Okay, the order goes bolt, that, and we could slicken this bolt up if we wanted to, because let's face it, this thing's never going to get lubricated again. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so the order is going to go one of these square tubings here, then this thing, okay, then the other one of these. Make sure nothing is holding these things from being parallel, or you could kink something or bend your bolt. So every so often I'm just correcting this. You know what? Swing them over this way because they keep getting caught on the different bolts and stuff over here. Now this is going to be a joint that needs to permanently move, so don't go too crazy cranking this down. That feels pretty good there. That's step 4 is all done. Let's go step 5. All right, we're going to grab this assembly called J, and we're going to take our other really long bolt. Here's this assembly that they're asking for here called J. Remove the zip tie. Grab your long bolt, 2 washers, and a nut. It's your other remaining long bolt. A little bit of grease, I'm just going to put it in there. A little bit of grease, put it on this other one. Alright, so we're going to take our bolt, put a washer on it. Through this assembly, up through here, like that. Back that out just a little bit. Take off our extra grease. Pretty impressed with this thing so far. Every joint is a double shear. This is a double shear. It's acting shear on both sides of this bolt. This is double shear. This down here is double, I guess it would still be a double shear. Everything's very stout. You don't have to worry about this thing falling apart on you. You got a little bit of wiggle, but you're gonna have a little bit of wiggle in anything with this much moving parts. Unless you, maybe if you spin triple or quadruple, you can get away from that. We're still on step 5. So now we've got this adjustment mechanism here. Oops, came apart, and it feels lightly oiled already, this thing here. So I'm not going to mess with that. Looks like there's a bolt that goes in here. It says bolt number 1. What that bolt does is it acts as a limiter. Once it goes in here and we tighten it up, it's going to ride along this groove and stop this assembly from coming apart anymore. Bolt number 1 is the shortest of our bolts. Put one in here. Now our assembly doesn't come apart anymore. You don't have to He-Man this bolt. Wants us to put S, which looks like some kind of knob. It's going to be this knob here. It's going to go here. All right, and then to adjust it says loosen a little bit, then pull it. There it goes. See that? And then you tighten it down to get rid of any wobble. All right, that's put together. Looks like number 8 on the bottom, number 10 up top. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grease these bolts. Just a real light coating. Most of these joints are moving joints, so you don't want to tighten them until they pinch together. You just want to tighten them so that they're free to move. All right, let's see what hole we're supposed to use here. Looks like it's this hole here. So out of shape that I'm working up a sweat just putting this thing together here. Okay, let's see what else we got left on step number 5. Okay, we're done with step number 5. Step number 6, 10, and 5 are our 2 bolt sizes. Light coating of grease. You don't want to crank this bolt here, this pivot, or this like sliding bolt here too much, because its purpose is just to limit the travel of the foot roller or leg rollers. I'm going to adjust it so there's just a little bit of friction, and there goes the paint, but that's going to happen anyways. There we go. What's nice about putting things together yourself is that you know how it works and you can adjust things how you like. All right, we're on step 6 here. Got the foot thing in. See what they're held in by number 2 bolts. So they're the second longest, or second shortest M10s. And that's what these are for here. Obviously, these probably don't have to be cranked too crazy. A good way to kind of tighten things without breaking them is when you see this is plastic and stuff, just choke up on the wrench. See how I don't have nearly as much leverage? And when you feel a rapid increase in torque, just stop, you're fine. Okay, number 4 should be our bolts for our seat back. 4. Those are 10 by 65. Make sure you've got all the grease off your hands before you start this part. I'm going to tighten these by hand with a wrench instead of using the drill, because these are just little nutserts into the wood and I don't want to go breaking things. This is giving me a bit of trouble here. If I've got to loosen this bolt here a little bit to get a little bit more spread on the bars. There we go, starting to get something here. There's just an extra bolt to include. Don't have to go crazy on these. Just choke up on your handle and stop when you feel the rapid increase in resistance. Okay. Now we got our seat, and we've got, let's see here, 5 washers and 4 bolts. So we should be good. I might have missed a washer somewhere. Probably not. Maybe I don't know. All right. Grab our seat here. Everything's been in pretty good shape so far. Just kind of looking at things as I'm unpacking them. And I mean, the holes are nice. You don't have to cut. I've had furniture where you got to cut the leather back yourself. I'm going to lay this down. Give myself a little bit more space. All right, guys, let's take a look at what we got. How you move your bench around is pick up this handle, it maxes out the travel, and then you got wheels at the back. So let's say move it around. Here's how you adjust your height. And I guess your highest position is right there, which is a little extreme. Let's sit on it, see how we like it. Let me see. Okay, good. So look where my feet are. Normally, those things would be facing that way and they'd be in your way. So if you're doing an incline press, feet are up on those things. That feels weird, you know? I want my feet on the floor. Look, back here, these things, they're not in the way at all. So that's pretty good. Then let's adjust our seat. Okay, have our seat about that. Let's go ahead and go flat with this thing. So with that adjustment knob on the seat, what you do is you loosen it to uncinch it, then you pull the knob, and that pulls the pin, and then you can make your adjustment, it'll click into place, and you just turn it in to reduce wobble. So let's see here, let's get you a little bit more in frame. let's lay it down flat. So here's your flat position, right? So you got a nice flat bench, heavy duty. And if you want to go even flatter, or if you want to go decline, here's decline right here. Then you can have your seat. Just loosen it, quarter turn, pull your pin. There you go, now everything lines up pretty good. Here's your decline, and that's why you have rollers on this model. Because when you're declined, you need something to hold your legs so your body doesn't slide down this way. And now you could do your decline exercise with your dumbbells or barbell. So there's that. You can do sit-ups if you want. I don't claim to be, again, I don't claim to be in fantastic shape. That's why I bought this, so that I could try to fix that. All right. Here's your most vertical position. If you want to do work on your shoulders or whatnot. All right, guys, well, that's it. Honestly, to me, it feels about, it's a little wobbly here in this axis here, but it's nothing I can't deal with. And you can't really crank it down too much more. It's more of a bolt, the pivot point just being a little bit sloppy or narrow. Either one would have tightened that up a little bit. But it's fine. I like it. I don't know how in the hell you build and ship this for 200 bucks. You know, I just don't know how you do it. I mean, how you make all the parts and ship it, because obviously you have to do the assembly. But anyways, you guys, I'm pretty happy with it. I like it, and also I like this modification. Another complaint I read about a lot, this thing feels solid. When you sit on this, there's no give. Another complaint I hear is that these feet come off all the time. Now, what I would probably do pretty easily is make sure they're all the way on, and then just take a self-drilling screw and just put it through here and one through here. Pinch that on. Or you can just put one on the top, but I'd put one on each side, pinch that on, call it a day. Alternatively, you could drill a hole straight through it and put a bolt and nut, and just keep that on like that. A non-mechanical solution would be to pull that off and slather some glue in there. Probably some shoe goo, some kind of shoe repair glue or something like that that wouldn't harm this rubber type cap. All right, you guys, that's the bench. I like it so far. I'll have to use it. If I have any problems, I'll report back to you. I'll see you later.